Here we go, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the first of our Pick'em series that we do every single year. Um, I have to admit that I screwed up the scheduling yesterday, so the only reason why you only get myself and Baltimore Blaine on tonight is 100% on me. So I gotta take that. I gotta take that on the chin because I can't keep schedule. But with that said, it is week one. There's not a lot of hot takes. There's not a lot going on that we need to really dissect as far as stats and those kind of things. This year we do have all of our picks done from a separate site. I'm actually really happy with the site. It's called pooltracker.com, www.pooltracker.com, and we're going to post our stuff up there so that way there's no problems with someone not recording the right team or the right win or that kind of thing, especially since, as usual, I plan on winning again. Blaine, there you go. So it's myself and Baltimore Blaine, and I apologize to the rest of the crew who aren't in. But this year, on the picks and hopefully rotating throughout the year on the podcast, we're going to have Coach Christopher Taylor, Coach Shane McGowan, Mr. Mark Hirsch, Baltimore Blaine, and myself, as well as, lucky enough, Mr. Luis, who's going to come in when he has a chance. But all of our picks are going to be entered online and posted, and you can find those picks at NuckPods, KNUCKPODS, on Twitter as well as Facebook. That's at NuckPods. And I kind of like it because you can't see our picks until the day of. I'm sure there's probably a way to fix that, but we're not the most tech savvy, but we are very competitive. We want this to come off well. So we're really happy about the fact that we have this new app that's pooltracker.com, and we're going to post those up so we can have all the bragging rights. And Mr. Baltimore Blaine, how you doing tonight? And why don't we start off with what you thought about Thursday night's game? Because
I am well.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no. I'll get to my input on Thursday night's game afterwards. But how you doing tonight, Mr. Baltimore Blaine?
I'm fine. I'm well, thank you. I'm sitting at 98-degree temperature right now, but I have my iced coffee, which the ice has melted. Oh my God. Okay, but it's cold, so I'm good.
There you go. Drink it fast. That's right. That's the whole point of cool off coffee. I thought Thursday night's game was absolutely garbage, and we talk about this every single year. How you can't hit people in practice, you can't do anything. All the new NFL rules state that none of this stuff is okay, and the players don't want it. But it really reflects in the first couple weeks of the season. I don't know. Thursday game was just so anticlimactic. I'm so excited that football started, and then it felt worse than the preseason.
Well, it did have a climactic ending. There was drama at the end. So in that light, it was that was okay. I mean, it was entertaining at the end, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm going to add something to that, and that's the fact that this year, for some reason, I guess everybody got a league-wide memo not to play your starters in the preseason or to limit their snaps and I think that's what we saw as a reflection of what you saw on the field. There was Matt Ryan looked awful. Nick Foles looked awful. The referees looked awful. It was just so much laundry on the field, and a lot of that had to do with false starts, or offsides.
It wasn't laundry that we were worried about in the preseason. It wasn't the laundry about the lowering the head. It wasn't the laundry about all the new rule changes that we thought were going to ruin the game. Because I have to admit that a lot of those calls were, maybe they went a little too far and should let them play a bit, but I think it was more sloppy play than it was all the new rules.
It was just bad. Matt Ryan was missing passes by a wide margin all through the game. I believe that the offensive line for the Falcons got tired. They were getting tired. I mean, I'm not sure these guys are conditioned. I mean, Matt Ryan was getting hit later on in the game. So it was just a horrible game. But it did come to a climactic end. The drama at the end that we like to see in our football games. It comes down to the last second of whether or not you have a chance to tie the game. I'm not sure that if Julio Jones had caught that ball in the end zone, whether he would have gotten his feet down or not. But it was a great defensive play for the defender. I think it was Darby.
Well, I do have to say that Julio made that catch on the sideline earlier in the game.
I don't agree.
Really?
And that's the thing is that my point is I was watching it too, and from the other angle, it looks like he may have. I mean, it's debatable to me whether he actually had the ball completely secured before he hit the line. And the fact is that we got to remember when we're watching these slow motion replays, they're in slow motion, so we're not seeing the whole. Getting a whole, movement as it's really happening, and I have to defend the refs on that for not overturning it. Well, because it was that close, and on the field it was ruled incomplete.
And as I was trying to say in the beginning of this, I don't think that the refs, I mean, there was a lot of penalties on the field, but I don't think the refs actually, overtook that game or changed the game in a way. I think it was just really sloppily played. And hopefully Sunday's going to be better. I think we can leave it at that. So,
but there's one more thing about the refs, though. One other thing I noticed about the rules. I saw a lot of. I'm sure I saw a lot of movement on kickoffs on the line. Lining up before the kickoff. And the rule is that you're supposed to have both feet on the ground when the ball is kicked. And I'm sure that they missed a lot of those because I saw movement on that line. I was looking. That's one of the things I was looking for. And see if they were going to call a flag on it.
And that particular crew is actually not known. I mean, there are some new pieces to that, but it's also not known as one of the heavier, flag throwing crews. So I think that we should keep an eye on what you're mentioning, Baltimore Blaine, as far as moving forward, because some of those crews, like Hockey Lee's son and some of the other guys, are throwing flags everywhere, at least in the preseason. I think that might be one of those things that we see. So thank you for bringing that up. Let's talk real quickly about some people that have reported and haven't reported. So Earl Thomas is back. He said that his disrespect was noted, but he's never let down his brothers, his players, his city, his team. And so he showed up ahead of time when he could have showed up later and still got the game check. Seattle has decided to wipe away all of his fines. So I think that's a good thing for Seattle. I don't think it fixes everything, but I think it's good.
I like that. I like that attitude.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bore you guys with all that. But let's talk about something completely different, which is Le'Veon Bell did not show up in time, is getting fined, and will not play. Or if he does, it'll be a surprise. It'll be limited time, and things are super evil in Pittsburgh.
And I think that's the difference between Thomas and Bell. I think that
class
relationship in not only class, but I think that relation. I think I'm not going to say class as much as I think that relationship in Pittsburgh is gone. I think that's done because Le'Veon Bell I think he's out for himself now, which I don't blame him because I think Pittsburgh has handled this all wrong. But then again, I mean, I understand why they handled it the way they handled it. And I think that he doesn't care about Pittsburgh anymore, or he just wants to be under a contract with long term with some security with a team. And I don't think he cares about the Pittsburgh Steelers as much as Thomas cares about Seattle. And I mean, I'm not trying. I don't know the guy, so I'm just this is my own opinion. But just from observing how it's being handled, and remember, this has been going on for years now, with these, with Pittsburgh. So I think as far as disrespect is concerned, I think that is really cultivated this fracture in the relationship here with the Steelers and Bell.
Yeah, and just to go on, as a Seahawks person, I know Seahawks listen to this show to kind of get some of our opinion on that. I think that there's a relationship fracture with the Seahawks and Earl Thomas as well, and we can visit that a little bit more on a later show, especially on the Tuesday show. If you guys don't know, find us on the Tuesday show, Blog Talks, Blog Talk Mancini Sports on Tuesdays. We do the picks and preview, as well as if you find this channel here, you can keep listening to what we do here. We're going to talk about that a lot more in depth. But I think half of what you said is true is the fact that Earl cares about the Seahawks, the fans, and his brothers that he went through the wars with, even if he has a problem with the front office, whereas Bell has shown over and over again, besides, holding out, also having problems, smoking weed, having, just nonsense issues that show that he doesn't really care. And I think that both of those guys are done in their respective cities. So we'll see how that goes. So why don't we jump into it, and why don't we start off with that same game, Mr. Baltimore Blaine? I'll let you start off with Pittsburgh at Cleveland. I'm sorry. If you want to jump in real quick, if you want to add to that, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When
you
you're done,
forgot one.
We'll go to Pittsburgh, Cleveland.
I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to. I wanted to remind you that about Shaquem Griffin.
Oh yeah. Well, let's get to that when we get to Seattle.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a feel-good story. Thanks for reminding me. And I guess we can do it now. But the fact that KJ Wright is hurt, which sucks for Seahawks fans, but at the same time, the fact that the first time in history, a player with disability, he only has one hand. I know you guys saw it a bunch. He was picked up by the Seahawks. He had up and down preseason, but mostly up. And because of KJ Wright's injuries, he's going to start. He's going to start right next to Bobby Wagner, and just, love to him. So, let's talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Seahawks. But thank you for reminding me of that, Baltimore Blaine. And let's start off with Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Okay. This is one, I don't know about you, but I get a bunch of emails for pick'em leagues and survivor leagues, and hey, I know that you know a bunch about the NFL, and I told everyone to stay away from this game as far as picks go because I don't like it. And Pittsburgh is favored by 4 points on the road, and this is the absolute Rothstein home dog pick that could upset the apple cart right away. And with Le'Veon going out, and with all the other problems they have, and with Cleveland riding the wave of popularity they've gotten from the show, this seems to me a little bit dangerous. Before I give my pick, why don't you talk a little bit about the game, since you are an AFC North kind of expert? Because this looks dangerous.
Well, Steelers play the Browns. It's always dangerous for the Steelers. Steelers always, the Browns always play the Steelers tough. Even through their recent non-winning ways, they have played the Steelers tough. Now, they've come out without the win, but this, for me, looks like it has all the, as you were saying, has all the ingredients of being an upset. Steelers on the road in Cleveland. They're not at full strength. Bell is still holding out. It's just, and I think that with the revamped offense of the Browns, you have Tyrod Taylor now throwing to Jarvis Landry, and I think that Josh Gordon's back. I think the weapons that Cleveland has on offense is going to challenge that weak secondary of the Steelers. And not only that, but you have Carlos Hyde, and who did they draft, the running back, the Browns?
Chubb.
Yeah,
Chubb. And don't forget Johnson, who was their leading receiver last year.
Yeah. Now
as well.
Let's not forget that Pittsburgh has had problems in the secondary, and they've also had problems stopping the run. I think that I'm going to say that Pittsburgh is going to. Well, I'm not going to. Well, before I say that, it all comes down to, in my mind, if the Browns coaching staff is on the same page because we have drama there.
Those
Okay,
guys are morons.
so
Worst coaching
your
staff
face.
in the league with all that talent. It's sad, but I don't think they're long for this world in a Browns uniform. But I guess we can get to that later too.
You're
So
talking about the NFL world.
yeah, the NFL. Yeah. I don't wish them to die, but I think that the career might be in a tough spot because of the fact that if you can watch that show, and that show goes out of its way, talking about Hard Knocks, to paint people in a decent light. Like they don't try to go and smear people unless you really just can't get out of your own way. And that coaching staff is horrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have it aired in the public like it's being aired, um, it's not a good thing. It's not a good fit. So if it really is that dysfunctional, I can see Cleveland blowing this season again. But on paper, it looks like, from at least from my view, it looks like this is going to be Cleveland's first win in what, 2 years. Um,
Yeah.
so I think the Steelers are going to start off 0-1 here. This is one of my upsets.
All right. So cool. So I actually did pick the Browns as well. We have to separate ourselves if we want to win a pick'em league, like we want to do. So you have to take the chalky, obvious picks and then separate yourself in a few places. I took Cleveland. I'm kind of thinking about it now, and maybe I shouldn't have, but it's too late now because we made a deal that once the show starts, that our picks are in. Um, but I think it's fair, and I think that the over is something. Those of you who play fantasy, who play DFS, John Connor is going to be a great play this week. Everyone's going to play John Connor, so it's not going to be like a surprise play. But I think it's going to be a good play, and everything else is kind of wait and see. You talked about Carlos Hyde. I think he's going to be a huge surprise if he can stay healthy throughout the season. So just so you know, my pick is the Cleveland Browns in an ugly game, by the way. And there's weather issues, and there's all kinds of other problems going on. So it's going to be a rainy, wet, cold, nasty, and at AFC North. I mean, everything is lined up for the Browns to pull this off. So if they don't, then it's on no one but except for them. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, the Pittsburgh running back, his name escapes me now. The rookie.
Connor.
Okay, Connor.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah, he.
Pittsburgh has no rookie. You mean Cleveland?
Is he?
Chubb?
No. I'm sorry. It's his first year, I believe. Is it the first year with Cleveland? I mean, with Pittsburgh.
No. He was drafted last year. He didn't play much.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I didn't.
But he's in that. But for you fantasy folks, D'Angelo Hall was picked for that same reason, and Bell has always been either hurt or suspended or something at the
holding out
season, and they give him a bunch of carries, they give him a bunch of work. So I don't see any reason why it'd be different this year.
Yeah, but he's not going to fill that hole. I don't think he's going to fill that hole for he's no Le'Veon Bell. Let me put it.
Well, no one's Le'Veon
right.
Bell, but the idea of someone that hasn't really played getting 25 to 30 touches is not out of this world, considering what Pittsburgh's done in the past.
Yeah, I was just saying that he's not going to be their savior in this game.
Oh no. But he does well. We'll see, and that's actually something that's been on a lot of the boards as far as the DFS and the fantasy guys are talking about. So we'll find out. Let's stay in that same division, and we go to Indianapolis, where the Colts are 2.5-point favorites over Cincy. And we always talk about how my rule of thumb is you get 3 points for being at home. The fact that they're under those 3 points, and I think that there's some great stuff. If you look up Evan Silva, I know you guys all know that I'm a huge fan of Evan Silva. He looks at each player in the Indianapolis secondary, and most of them couldn't make practice squads this year. And as much as I hate to say I like Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals in any week, I like Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals this week. I think they just have too many weapons that people are just so happy that Andrew Luck is back, even though he looked like garbage in the preseason. But I think that just since he's just got to, AJ Green to Andy Dalton is enough to beat this team as they try to figure things out. And they didn't figure out the most important part, was the fact that they can't stop anyone. Over under is at 48 points, which means the highest scoring game, and I think if the points start to add up, that the team that knows each other and has played together over and over again for the last few years is going to end up winning, even though they're on the road. So I'm going full on Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm looking at the fact that I had a rough time getting the feel for this one, but I have to believe that that Cincinnati team, as unpredictable as they may be for me, is still stronger than a team that's rebuilding under a new coach right now, even on the road. I think the Red Rifle, who's in contrast to Andrew Luck, has had a good preseason, and I expect that they are not going to get off to the flat start that they got off to last year. And I think that Andy Dalton and AJ Green connection, along with
Mixon,
John Ross,
Eifert, John Ross.
yeah,
There's just too many. There's
I
too
think
many
that
weapons. They might get hurt throughout the year, but I think that this Indy team that still hasn't figured out to play together is screwed.
yeah, yeah, I think this. I'm picking Cincinnati to win this one on the road as well.
All right, so I figured we're gonna agree on those first two, even though I know Cleveland. I bet that maybe you and I will be the only ones out of our group that pick Cleveland over Pittsburgh this week, but we'll see. So let's go to another really easy one. The lowest the lowest points scored predicted by Vegas, and the biggest, one of the bigger spreads, not the biggest spread, but one of the bigger spreads would be you guys going against Peterman and the Buffalo Bills in Baltimore. And the last time that Nathan Peterman took the field, he threw, what was it, 3 or 4 picks in the first half, a couple of them pick sixes. In DFS on DraftKings and FanDuel and all those places, everyone's trying to figure out how much Baltimore defense is too much. It's the most expensive and the most popular play. We talk about preseason. A lot of people say that preseason doesn't matter. I think it does in some places, and I think the fact that Baltimore held a bunch of people scoreless and touchdownless in many games, that's one of those little ticks you see in preseason that really matters. I think this game is going to be very boring, very ugly, and very one-sided. And I think that I have a small hunch that you're going to agree that Baltimore is going to kill these games.
Yeah, a little bit. A little big bit. I don't see the Bills being able to go into Baltimore opening week and take this game from them. I don't see how, and along with what you said, I don't see how the Bills are going to even put up enough points to make this game. Now, keep in mind that I'm keeping in mind also that the Ravens are one of these teams that didn't play their starters a lot in the preseason. But
I don't think that matters, because
I don't think it matters either.
It's not going to matter because of the fact that Buffalo can't score against Baltimore's defense. It was the strongest by far, the most the defense that I saw that played their fundamentals, played their gaps. I mean, played everything correctly throughout the preseason at first, second, third, fourth strings, and you're going against a team that is a complete loss for the year and has an identity crisis. There's just no way in my mind.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I can see the Bills maybe scoring 10 points at the most in this game. I can see Baltimore's defense scoring that much or more against Buffalo. So
and with Alex Collins and just a short dink and dunk pass game and a running game, I think that they're going to own the time of possession enough and give their defense a chance that it's just going to be one of those games where all you do is you click on it and you see Baltimore running the ball and Buffalo on the sideline, looking upset. I don't see
This could be
anything.
this this could be your first sighting of Lamar Jackson on the field in mop-up duty.
Oof.
Although
See, that's
although
a
uh,
Baltimore Homer stocking. I'm not going to go that far, but I think we're all
although
thinking.
RG3 is the backup officially, so it'd probably be RG3.
Yeah.
But don't forget they are talking about using Lamar Jackson as in certain packages anyway. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes around the internet about Lamar Jackson runs in for the touchdown being available. So let's take a quick jump from that game to a game where the this is one of those things where we always talk about on the Pick'em show. Those of you who use us for, you know, I don't get as much into the fantasy stuff as I would like to on this show, but we do talk about betting and those kind of things. A lot of betting lines aren't that surprising, but some are. And here's a game that really surprises me. Jacksonville, who a lot of people think are a great team who could go back to who could go to the Super Bowl, who go back to the deep into the playoffs, playing at the New York Giants, and the odds are only 3 points, and the over under is 42.5. That shows
hmm,
that to me. That shows that I'm sorry. That shows that I think things are a little bit funky.
interesting. Uh, I just don't see the Jaguars defense letting the Giants offense beat them. I think the Jaguars on the road, even, I think this Giants team has too many question marks as far as the coaching staff is, it's a new coaching staff. Um, have they improved? Are they competitive enough again? Yeah, you got Odell Beckham Jr. Yes, you got Eli Manning, and that's a question mark for me. Is Eli Manning? How much is left with Eli Manning? How effective is he now? I know that the Jaguars have questions. The same question at their quarterback for me is Bortles. I don't, really care
And
for
that's the
for
that's the
his
big
his
one
play.
that's the big one that always comes up on the show, right? People always
Yeah,
say, "I don't trust Blake Bortles," and you being one of them, right? And
I'm one of them.
does this show that Vegas is telling us that, hey, you know what? They got a great defense. They got Leonard Fournette. They have all the things ready to go. They just don't have that. They don't have that team put together with that quarterback that we feel comfortable enough to give them more than 3 points over a team that lost last year and really didn't have a lot except
Yeah,
for Saquon Barkley.
I'm going. I'm going with Jag. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm taking the Jaguars over the Giants at this
Yeah, I'm
point.
going. I'm going.
First game
I'm
of the
going
season.
Jags. I'm going Jags too, and I just think that there's just no way. I mean, this game might be like a 9-12 game.
Yeah,
That would be disappointing, but it really wouldn't surprise me. And you Saquon Barkley fans, don't worry. You guys are going to score a bunch of points. He's going to be a stud. Just maybe not this week. First game in the
yeah.
NFL against what I think is going to end up being the best defense in the NFL.
I know, and all the points might be scored off the defense side of the ball.
That might that might be. And Bortles, man, I don't know what to tell you, but your team believes in you, but Vegas and the rest of us don't. So
Well,
that's just
well,
how it's going to work out.
here's one bright spot for Bortles. Is usually when I talk against him, he plays well. Or anyone. Usually half the quarterbacks in the league when I criticize him show me up the next game. So
Well, that's what makes the NFL the NFL.
I don't know if that's a reflection on me or but anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and I'm not playing a bunch of money on fantasy this week. I'm not doing that stuff because of the fact that we don't know what the trends are going to be. We're trying to look at them. Part of what this show, I think, what makes this show fun is the fact that we kind of look at Vegas and other people, and a lot of times Vegas and the public are kind of on the same page in the beginning, but this is one of those games that really shocked me. Only 42 points scored, and the Jags only have a 3-point. I mean, that's kind of shocking, no? And
Yeah.
let's go. So let's move to one of the highest total games. It's not the highest now because, uh, yeah, it's not the highest now, but it is a line that has moved a bit. So one of the things that we look for in betting is what the public and the sharps do to a line, meaning when they bet it to a certain point, it starts to grow, and that's New Orleans against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, obviously, Jameis is suspended, so you have Ryan Fitzpatrick going to the Dome, and we are up to 49.5 points, with New Orleans being a 9.5 point favorite.
Ooh,
And yeah,
that's all.
and they're out of, and they don't have Ingram. They cut a bunch of their running backs. They got Gillisley, but they put so it's basically Gillisley who just got there and Kamara in the backfield. But New Orleans, who surprised the world with a great pass defense last year, has made it better this year with more pieces. I think New Orleans is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and Tampa is, let's just say, going a different direction. I think that these odds are too low. I think Tampa beats them by more than 9.5. So I'm going Tampa. Excuse me. I think New Orleans beats them by more than 9.5. I think that you're going to agree with me that New Orleans is going to win.
I
You
almost
know,
choked on my coffee when you said that.
yeah, I didn't mean to. No, I think Tampa's in for. Tampa was so built up last year and came so short of expectations, and now everything has gotten even worse. I think that's one of those teams that is going to have to just blow it up and rebuild it, and it's going to start this week with New Orleans beating them by a ton of points.
Yeah, you said it in the beginning. You don't have Bucks don't have their quarterback. Okay, you got a Saints team that's too strong and balanced to let a dysfunctional Bucks team ruin their home opener. And I think that it's going to be a blowout. I think that, of course, now that I said that, it's going to be a close game down to the wire. But
I think you're.
but this
I
should
think
be a.
you're probably safe on this particular game.
Well, even if Winston was in there, I mean, there are big question marks about his leadership, and I think you're right. They need to blow this team up and start over again.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. So let's go to another game where these are more of the lines that I'm used to seeing. 6.5 points with 46 over under, which means it's almost anyone's game, but the home team's favored. That's San Francisco going to Minnesota. Now I have been a big advocate, and I've thrown a bunch of numbers at you guys. I'm going to continue to do it throughout the entire season. Garoppolo did win his last 6 games, or the Niners' last 6 games. He did start, and he did turn that team around. But if you
Woo
look at his
woo!
individual stats, he's at almost like a 45% picked touchdown rate. He wasn't that great. I think it was more the coaches and him, them throwing those short passes. I think that the rest of the NFL has had time, and he's got to go play in Minnesota. I don't think there's any way Minnesota's a 6.5 point favorite with a 46 point over under. I actually think this game is going to be on the under. I think people are missing how good John Lynch has put, how good of a defense John Lynch has put together. I think that this is one of those games that I would hit the under on. At the same time, I think Minnesota comes out as a victor on this one.
I think Garoppolo. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to talk over you, but we have that delay going on.
No, you're good. Minnesota wins.
Okay. Okay. I think Garoppolo is not going to lose another game in his any game in his career. So I'm going to say that he's going to stub his toe in the locker room and be scratched at the last minute because the 49ers are going to lose this game. The Vikings.
I'm not sure where you're going with that, but I'm guessing you're trying to cleverly say Minnesota wins. Yeah.
Minnesota wins. It was very sloppily delivered. Yes, that's why I'm not a stand-up. Okay. I expect the 49ers. Even though I think they're much improved and they're going to be great to watch this year. Um, I don't think they're enough to beat the Vikings on their, first game of the season at home in opening week. Um, Garoppolo will lose a game. This will be the first one he loses.
Shocker.
And I think you've got a big point there that there's a lot of hype on Garoppolo, and it's a nice little story. It's a nice little story to follow, and and romance, fairy tale. But in the real world, it comes down to that the Vikings are going to handle business. They're just too strong. Even though
and I think it's the defense that handles business and the offense struggles. So I want to make sure that I put that up.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though I'm not a big Kirk Cousins fan, and I think that the Vikings are going to take a step back from last year. They'll still be strong. They're still going to be a contender, but I don't believe that Kirk Cousins is going to be a better quarterback for this team than what's his name was last. I'm having name issues now.
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. Yeah. It's just it's just something to watch. That's all.
Okay.
You got a new quarterback going into a new system, and trying to reestablish or trying to establish relationships with the receivers, and he hasn't looked good with with only one receiver so far. He's looked good.
So my computer here is frozen. I don't know what just happened. Hopefully it unfreezes in a second, but the recording's still going. That's the important part.
I talk too much.
I'm gonna. Yeah, you froze my computer with your talking. So let's go to a game that I'm actually a little bit worried about. Is New England at Texas? And when we did our AFC South promo, or look forward, whatever you want to call it, I talked about the fact that I think that Texans are gonna kind of regress a little bit, and while Deshaun, I believe, is the real deal, that they might not be quite as good as people think. And as I'm starting to look at this game and I'm starting to kind of break it down as we get closer, I find myself buying into a lot more pieces of the Texans offense. And this is a game that I think might end up biting New England in the butt. Even though I am frozen here, I can see that it's a 50-point over-under. It's the highest over-under of the week. And even though that the Patriots are 6.5-point favorites, I think it might be closer. If it wasn't in Foxborough, this would have been my second big upset that I would pick. But because it's in Foxborough, I'm going to stick with Belichick and Brady.
I'm going to go against that one, and I'm going to go for the upset. I think the Texans almost pulled it off in Foxborough last year, didn't they?
Yep.
And I think you're going to have a strong Texans team go into Foxborough. I think that the Patriots have been over the last couple of years tend to start off a little flat, like most teams in the league. But I think they also have questions as far as Edelman being out. They're going to have Gronk trying to fill that void. But they also have new pieces in New England that need to gel on the offense. I can see the Texans with J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson going in there and upsetting the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Texans for the upset.
Okay, so we'll see how that goes. Can you find our next game and maybe what the odds
are? Yeah.
Because I'm still locked out here on my screen.
Let's see, who haven't we gotten to yet? We haven't gotten to Dolphins and Titans. Titans at the Dolphins.
Yeah, so I know that's a 1-point game. I believe the Titans are favored by 1 in Miami. I'm going all in Miami. I think that Miami takes this, and the Titans defense becomes exposed as to what a joke it really is.
I'm going with the Titans. Both teams have a lot of question marks for me. I don't think the Titans are going to be as strong this year. Excuse me, under their new coaching staff. I think that defense is going to be okay. Although Dean Pease, in some feel that Dean Pease held back our defense last year, or the last couple of years. He plays an ultra conservative fourth quarter, and that's where, over the last few seasons, the Ravens have suffered, giving up games in the fourth quarter because they weren't aggressive enough. I don't trust Tannehill. That's another quarterback like Bortles that show me, and he hasn't shown me enough. And I don't think that the Dolphins. I think that the Titans are just a little bit better than the Dolphins even now under their transition.
Okay, so quick question: who's better, Mariota or Tannehill?
Mariota or Bortles?
Mariota or Tannehill?
Oh, Mariota. Mariota, Tannehill. Mariota.
Okay, who's got a better defense, the Dolphins or the Titans?
I think the Titans.
See, I think that's where we disagree, which is why I'm going Miami.
Okay.
What's the next game on the slate?
You're the stats guy. You can back. I'm going off of
what
off of memory.
Week one, F the stats because we don't know. That's what makes week one. That's what makes week one tough. Because that's a great call. I appreciate you calling me the stats guy. But what this tells me is that I really don't know because all the stats. You have a rebuilt defense on both sides. You have Tannehill coming back from injury. This isn't a stats call. It's more of a gut call. So I appreciate you calling me out on that. Because
that was a compliment.
I just feel I don't mean call me out like in a bad way. I'm saying like want me to shed light on why I came to that decision, and I just think that Miami just has more talent overall on both sides of the ball. Even though I think Miami's going to have a tough season, I think that both these teams are going to be bottom feeders this year.
I am gonna call this a close game, regardless.
And Vegas agrees with you because they're calling it a point. So
yeah, it's about time Vegas agreed with me on something. Always taking my money.
Yeah. All right. What's the next game you got for us?
Okay. We're gonna save that one until later. Let's go down the line here. Let's see. What did we just touch? We just touched Titans and Dolphins. We did that one. Chiefs at Chargers.
I love this game for fantasy football on both sides. I love this game. I think that both offenses are going to score. I think that this game is going to be like one of those 35 to 34 shootouts. I absolutely love this game. This will be the game that I have on my computer watching the entire time. I can't wait to see this game.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm not. I wasn't so sure about the scoring part.
The worst.
I don't know if Mahomes is ready
in the NFL during the preseason. I know people say preseason doesn't matter. It does matter in certain aspects. And the worst defense by far this preseason was the Kansas City Chiefs. They played their starters against what's his name, Chase Daniels, and the Bears' second stringers in the third game, and got destroyed.
Well,
I think Phillip Rivers is going to eat the Chiefs alive, and it's in San Diego. It's not in Arrowhead.
Yeah, that's my point. I don't see Mahomes being able to do the same against the defense of the Chargers.
I could see him. I think Mahomes is going to do like a 3-touchdown, 3-interception kind of day.
I think Mahomes is going to get harassed, and he's going to be on his back a lot. I see Rivers and the Chargers offense taking it to the Chiefs against they're playing at home. They're playing in Los Angeles in that little soccer stadium. Step up, and can I do that? Are they a sponsor? They're not a sponsor yet. Strike that. Let them pay for that.
I wish.
No, I think that this Chargers team is just too strong, and I think that the Chiefs are going through a transition with Mahomes. And again, first game of the season, opening week, there's going to be some seasoning that has to be done before we see the Mahomes that we're expecting to see. Rivers has done it too many times. This Chargers defense is going to feast on a rookie quarterback.
Okay, so let's find a couple of the other games that we can just kind of fire through.
Okay.
We'll get to some of the ones at the end.
Okay, and next on my list is Seahawks Broncos.
Oh yeah, so that's one we're not going to fire through. Okay.
You want to save that one?
No, we can go ahead and talk about that one very quickly.
Okay.
That's problematic, and I have to say that I don't know. I don't know. I will tell you that I did pick the Broncos on the pick'em. Sorry, Seahawks fans. I'm a competitive cat. I want to win, not just be a homer. And the biggest reason is because 43 out of the last 50 games that Denver has played in September in Mile High have been victories. That's going back over multiple coaches, multiple quarterbacks. I think that the Seahawks will start to put it together. This is going to be a very boring, low-scoring game, and I'm just going with numbers here that I think Seahawks might trip up on this. Also goes back to the fact that the Seahawks are horrible at the beginning of the season under Pete Carroll. I think the Seahawks lose this one.
I think you're right. Coming into Mile High, you have. I still have questions about the Seahawks offensive line. Even if they have improved, they still need time to gel before we see that, I believe. I think that the Seahawks have too many new pieces and questions going in as far as new personnel and on both sides of the ball. And Shaquem Griffin, that's a great story. You want to talk about that?
No, just happy for the kid. We can talk about it next week. Just happy for the kid.
Okay.
He everyone said he was never going to play college football with one hand. He was never going to play pros, and now he's all the way to a point where he's starting side by side with his brother in the NFL. Just happy for him.
I think that's a player that every fans from every team wanted to see.
Even people who don't like American football in Europe.
Yeah, I think that every
love that kid because it's just awesome. And one of the cool things, I won't get on this too much, but check out the video. There's a bunch of kids that have disabilities that have shown up to the Seahawks practices just to meet him and shake his hand with tears in their eyes because he gives people hope. And he's a super cool guy, and he's super sweet, and he's very grateful, humble, and he's really good.
I don't think
he's really good.
I don't think anybody watching draft day would have been upset if he had been drafted by their team.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a great deal in so many ways, and can't wait to see him start. And I hope it works out for him.
And remember, his abilities was not the disabilities, but his abilities, his skills on the field made it.
He's a linebacker that runs faster than any wide receiver on the Broncos.
They were forced to invite him to the combine, and he shined at the combine.
4.340, man, that's legit. You can't hand or not. That's and he put you put on the deal. It's a great story. We're going to talk about it a bunch.
So he's not paying us either, so we're not going to give him any more airtime.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to say that. I'm sorry. What?
I said he's not a sponsor, unfortunately.
He's not a sponsor. Okay. So I want to say, as far as Denver is concerned, I think Case Keenum I had the same questions about him with a new team and gelling with how much he's gelled already with his receivers, but I think that that Bronco team is much more put together and ready, especially at home, to defend this week. And I'm going to go with the Broncos.
Okay.
So next game would be, I believe, Dallas Cowboys at Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think we can fire through this one. Basically, to me, it comes down to you. Only thing that the Cowboys have with all the injuries at the offensive line is Zeke running with with a bad offensive line, and Kuechly and those guys will get them without Thomas Davis. And I think that Christian McCaffrey has a breakout season, so I'm going Panthers.
I got the Cowboys as being an incomplete team right now. They got questions at receiver. That once elite line that they had is been weakened. The Panthers, on the other hand, I think they've improved with more weapons for Cam. DJ Moore is going to be a name that is going to be, well, if he's not a household name now, he will be. Um, Torrey Smith, as an addition, is going to help as well. Panthers at home will be too much for the Cowboys to handle. So I'm
Next
picking the
game.
Panthers.
There you go. We're
Uh,
agreement there.
all
Let's
right,
move on.
so Skins and Cardinals. Skins at Arizona.
Yeah, so I'm happy for Adrian Peterson. Vegas has the Cardinals winning. I think the least games in the NFC. I think that Vegas got it wrong. I think the Cardinals are going to surprise some people as long as they stay healthy. David Johnson's back. I got the Cardinals beating the Skins.
I trust Alex Smith more than I trust Sam Bradford. I think Alex Smith is even though he's in a new environment and he's adjusting to that. Sam Bradford is I think he's too gun shy now. He's been hit too many times. You see him taking dives before when anybody gets close to him. I don't think he's going to stand up to the pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Rosen ends up in in this game at some point. I um, I think Adrian Peterson has a good.
I think that's taking it way too far.
I'm a guy that goes out there. You know that.
Yeah.
But I think Adrian Peterson has a good game. It's probably going to be the best game he has all season, as what happened last year when he went to his new team. I take I'm taking the Skins, and even though I don't trust either team, I'm going to take the Skins over the Cardinals in this one.
Okay, next game.
Next game, I believe, would be the Bears and the Packers.
I like the direction the Bears are going, especially they made the big moves to get Khalil Mack. I like the young receivers, and I think the Bears are the exact opposite of a team. Some of the other teams in the league that are on the way down. I think they're doing the right things, but I think the Packers are just too much too soon. I think that the Packers are just going to overwhelm them, and it might be a little lower scoring than it should be because of the fact that it is a division game and a rivalry game. But I think that Rodgers and those guys are going to mop them up pretty easily.
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to be improved, but the problem is that they're improving on their strength on defense. I don't see much improvement on the offense, and I don't trust Trubisky. He hasn't shown me anything yet. So why do I think he's going to be a savior and be able to stand in toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers? The Packers are a Super Bowl contender. The Bears aren't. The bottom line. Too much Packer team for this Bears team.
The Packers are on that top 5 tier as long as Rodgers is healthy.
Exactly. So, but I'm picking the Packers in this one because the Bears are just not because Rodgers is playing this game, and I just I don't think the Bears are on that level yet. Next game, Jets Lions. Jets are visiting Detroit.
Who cares? No, I'm just kidding. Once again, I think the Jets are going to surprise people with the quality they're going to be able to put out there, but it's just not going to be enough. They're going to have a lot of games. I think that they lose closely and they get like a good old pat on the back and the attaboy. Wow, you really showed us something about your heart. But at the end of the day, just like this next Sunday, it's going to have a lot of Sundays where the score is going to be favoring the other team. I think that the Lions beat them pretty decently. It might be a little closer than people think, but I think that the Lions beat them.
Yeah, the Jets are still rebuilding. I mean, they surprised us last year with the success they had. They were very competitive. Now they've got a new quarterback, rookie quarterback. and I can't expect Sam Darnold to outplay Matthew Stafford. Let me get the oh my God, I almost said the wrong quarterback. Matthew Stafford, in his first real NFL game. Um, at home, with Matthew Stafford at home, the Lions are unbalanced. Their offense is the strength of this team. Um, and like I said, the Jets are just rebuilding. It, it comes down to the quarterbacks for me in this game. It's going to be the Lions. Lions are going to win this.
Okay.
All right, and I believe we're down to our last game, and that would be the Rams. Rams visiting the Raiders. Speaking of Vegas,
I think they're going to Vegas. I think that everyone knows that I think that the Raiders are a sham and that the worst paycheck written by a sports team in any sport around the world over the last few years is paying Gruden $100 million. Especially when you can't pay your best linebacker and the players are sitting there saying, "Well, we couldn't play Khalil Mack, and now, but my coach is making $100 million a year, or over a few year contract." I mean, it's got all the writing on the wall of a disaster. And while I do think the Rams regress a bit and aren't going to be as good as people think they are, because everyone's already given them the NFC Championship, wrapped in a bow, I think that they're going to have a lot more problems than that. I don't think it's going to be this week, and I think the Raiders are going to start on their downward turn, and the Rams should beat them pretty soundly. I think Gurley has a huge day.
Yeah, I think the Rams. I'm picking the Rams in this one. The Rams are going to be competing with the Packers and the Saints to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Raiders are competing with themselves. They're still going through personnel changes. Running backs are banged up. Receiving core is weaker than anticipated. The defense is still not up to par. The new head coach and the coaching staff, in their first real game, I mean, they looked great. Gruden coming back out of the booth, and I'll still say, besides that Super Bowl win, Gruden's track record is not that great. It's one of those legend things. It's like Joe Namath. Okay, he had one good game. That excelled you over the top and made you a legend. I'm not sure if if his communication is there with the new players. I don't know if he really understands these new players. That only time will tell that. But I think that bottom line, Rams are just too strong for the Raiders, and I'm picking the Rams.
All right, I think that kind of covers it. We're gonna have our bigger shows on Fridays normally, pick'em shows. We also have our Tuesday show as always. You can find us. We're going to post all of our picks, so you can see that Blaine and I are on the same page except for a couple of them. We're going big this year, obviously, because Blaine and I are both going for some big upsets. And we're going to try and bring you coverage like this every single week. And find us at Nuckpods, KNUCKPODS, on both Facebook and Twitter, and knuckleheadpods@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. And we will talk to you guys on Tuesday.
Bye.